very long pending India-US trade deal is now edging closer to reality. The stakes are extremely high. In an exclusive conversation with India Today's Siddharth Zarabi, the Bharti Enterprises Chairperson, Sunil Bharti Mittal is explaining how this agreement could unlock a $1 trillion trade corridor, boost Indian exports and reshape the global supply chain. With India having inked a historic trade deal with the United Kingdom, all eyes are now on the Washington DC. A pending trade deal that could reshape global supply chains and push India's GDP up by 1% is reportedly lying on President Donald Trump's desk, awaiting action. Dr. Mukesh Aghi, who's the president of India-US Strategic Partnership Forum, tells India Today's Siddharth Zarabi that a deal could push the bilateral trade between both the countries to the $1 trillion category.
Mr. Mittal, I come back to you for a broader picture. You've seen over your entire career and been a member of countless trade delegations. Explain to our viewer what it has taken Prime Minister Narendra Modi to move from a stage where for quite a few years in the first two terms we saw no major trade deal, and now we've seen this intensive effort for a renewed trade engagement bilaterally with multiple nations, and the United States trade deal is the big one that is still to be done. What is driving this renewed approach?
Well, starting the first term of Prime Minister, the world was still in the bilateral mode, more the multilateral mode, where WTO and large deals under TTP and other things were being discussed. It's only the last few years that momentum of bilateral trade deals have picked up, because in very large sense, the global trade deals, which were envisaged under WTO, and I personally worked for the ICC chairmanship for many years in that program, is now really not relevant anymore, and it's becoming more deals between big nations, big blocs. So India and NAFTA, which is the 4 European countries, India, Australia, India, UAE, India, Saudi, and now India, UK. So you are seeing a lot of bilateral deals coming through. This, to my mind, sets the stage and roadmap for India-EU treaty, which has also been in the works. And also, very importantly, India-US trade deal, which has been much talked about. There have been a few extensions. A lot of hectic parleys are underway. And I think this really is a good framework in which two large economies or large countries can work together to come to agreements which are mutually beneficial to both sides. So I think this will help India's hand in negotiations, especially with the EU, because most of the traits of those markets are similar to the UK.
Mr. Mittal, one of the sort of criticisms in India is perhaps to do with giving away too much. So the fine print gives you a far different picture than what some of the political headlines might capture. But to the average Indian who may sort of believe that this is going to negatively impact Make in India, it will negatively impact Atmanirbharta, is that the correct way to look at it? Because over the last several years, we have been putting in a lot of effort and seen good results on domestic manufacturing.
No, I personally feel that domestic manufacturing actually gets advantage, because as I said, India's cost of manufacturing is much lower. Talent is much wider available and at lower pricing. And UK will not be able to produce its own components for automobiles, for hand tools, machine parts, handicrafts, gems and jewelry, leather footwear, ethnic apparel. A lot of these things which are in the MSME space is an advantage to India. Now, will some products come from the UK to India? For sure. That's the part of the deal, that India will also open up the market. Do keep in mind the existing duties were already pretty benign. They were not very high duties between the two countries. And by reduction of some duties in areas like beverages, for example, or auto parts, where India is already very well endowed in terms of local manufacturing and local ecosystem, should not cause big concern. Yes, there will be some high-end cars coming into India, high-end drinks coming into India, but there's a sliver of the market which suits the British side because they need that extra market, but does not disturb a mass market in India.
Absolutely, and that's a very important point that Sunil Bharti Mittal makes viewers remember. He's someone who I've tracked, and I know that when Bharti went out doing some of its first large fundraisers globally, there were even concerns around opening up for foreign investment at that time, and see how much the needle has moved since then. Do you believe that we will have finality, or do you think it will perhaps take more time?
My understanding is India has put its best foot forward, and it is on the desk of the president. And what we are hearing is he would like to expand this deal. India has drawn certain red lines, especially on the agriculture side and on dairy side, which is understandable. But I think you can work that out. You don't have to open full dairy agriculture sector. You can protect areas like rice, wheat, maize. But I like to emphasize that you don't want India getting isolated, because what happens is if Japan is getting 15% and if basically Philippines is getting 19%, then India has an opportunity to drive this to a lower level, and which would be an encouragement for US companies to leverage their supply chain by moving manufacturing into India.
By when can we expect President Trump to make up his mind on this proposal that, as you put it, is lying on his desk?
I believe that the US negotiating team is coming to India next week. And what more important is there has to be some kind of communication between the leadership in India and the president to consume the deal, because you need to basically understand that president loves headline news. And if you can basically drive a deal which says we will take this trade partnership with $1 trillion, that's a good headline news. But you have to understand a trade agreement between the two countries will impact in positive way almost 1% of GDP of India, and does have impact on the US side also. So I think we need to figure out how we take this forward, because at the moment, while it's lying on the president's desk, it has not moved forward.